2.
She deserves jail time. There is no rule in which she should not be in jail. She has demonstrably lied to the American people. Lie after lie, calling for a fake election. Unbelievable. Recently, there have been even more calls for Major Taylor Greene's jail time. But in recent news, there has been reported she will have jail time, just not the kind that people want her to have. She is going on a jail tour of the DC jails in order to address the seeming human rights violations that many DC jails are accused of. And in order to fully understand what this means for her future and what the public's thoughts about this should be and are, we should look at, 1, the Capitol riot itself, the things she lied about and is currently pursuing more through this jail tour, the jail tour itself, and finally, what makes Washington, D.C. jails so in need of this tour by Republican Green? Well, to start off, we have the Capitol riot. During the riot, Green was calling for an insurrection, says CNN Amanda Frankenson. Now, why is this so important? Well, during this Capitol riot, many were calling for Green's disposal because she was so instrumental in causing it to turn into a riot instead of just a gathering of people or a protest. She was one of the key figureheads who were portraying this fake election, this fraudulent election deniers. She is one of the biggest Trump supporters on the cabinet right now. She has been struggling to fight against these allegations and currently winning because she has so much influence, especially within the Republican Party, because of how much she won her race by. She won by a landslide. And because of this Capitol riot, many have been calling for her jail time, which she is getting, like I said, but not in the way we're hoping. So, what is this jail tour anyways? Why is it so important? What is she doing on it? Green has been going out saying she will be looking at human rights violations in jail, specifically for the Capitol rioters, says MSN's QWERTY, which is a conglomerate of writers. Now, why is she looking for the human rights violation of these Capitol rioters? Well, number 1, she has a vested interest in making sure these people do not stay in jail. They are a main part of her voter base, especially if they get convicted. That cuts out a massive part of her voter base, which she leaves as a very open door in order to get reelected. She wants these people out of jail. Then there's also the fact that many have said that the Capitol rioters have been demonstrably mistreated within the justice system, especially with given over 24 hours of solitary confinement, which is very illegal and a complete human rights violation. She has been very vocal about how bad the prison system is in DC. So, how bad is the prison system in DC? Well, if we look at the prison system within DC, it actually has some merit for Green's tour. According to Time Magazine's Samantha Waller, Green's campaign to reform DC's jails has an air of authenticity that is often lacking from her speeches and promises. Now, what does this mean? Well, within the jail system of DC, there is many who state that it is demonstrably misrepaired. It needs much more maintenance and thousands of dollars more to be able to function properly as the jails and prisons it needs to have in order to be a functioning society. One of these problems is that there is blocks and cells within, especially solitary confinement, that don't have working toilets or sinks. These prisoners are treated like they are less than human when they are just as human as you or I. This makes it so that many feel as though they need a reform, especially within the DC jails, because of how disrepaired they are. It has gone beyond punishment and is now just constant hell for these prisoners. Many are left without air conditioning or heat during the cold and hot months, especially in DC, where the weather changes very rapidly, and those things are desperately needed, with temperatures reaching over 100 degrees easily during the summer. Now, many argue against this, saying that, for example, there are interviews with many past inmates of DC jails who say they had a perfectly fine time within the jail. They say that the jail was like any other jail. It wasn't nice, but it wasn't hellish. But then again, there are many more who say it was hellish. They didn't have these staples they need in order to have a functioning, semi-livable and humane conditions, even for these people who committed crimes, especially for those in jail for less offensive means. Now, this has led Marjorie Taylor Greene to call for a lot of reform within the DC jails because of how bad they are. It has led the Republican Party in general to focus on how badly treated these Capitol rioters are. So, looking at the facts, why is it so important, and how is the reaction to Marjorie Taylor Greene's new jail tour? Well, looking back on it, we can see that Marjorie Taylor Greene has some reasons to actually be going. She is not just lying. She is telling the truth about how bad the system in DC is. So, looking at how the Capitol riot itself, why she's being called for jail time, why people want her to have actual jail time, what she's doing during this jail tour, and finally, how bad the DC prisons are, we can see that there is some justification for Marjorie Taylor Greene's new policy of doing this jail tour. Thank you.
6:45.
That was really bad. That was like really bad. That was really bad for me.
What was bad about it? I don't understand.
I was